So on this quick video, I'll show you how to get started in Unreal Engine for VR. If this is the first time using Unreal, I'm going to go over very basic navigation. But if you've used this before, you can skip this video in particular. So when you first open Unreal Engine, you're welcomed by this screen, and you notice that there's, of course, my recent projects, but there's other types of projects. There's games projects, film and video projects, architecture projects, simulations. For this case, we want to use a game virtual reality project, and you want to put it in a folder where you can find it later. You know, you have capacity. Unreal projects can get very heavy, so if you're working on the school computers, I would recommend using the D drive. But if you are working on your personal computer, just make sure you are putting them in a space, in a place where you have enough space. You could also use box drive for that. Um, and I'm gonna keep it in here, and I just wanna make sure that I name this a way that makes sense. I'm just gonna put delete at the end because I'm gonna delete this. I don't need this project, and I'm gonna hit create. And Unreal is going to proceed to start creating and adding the assets for your project. A thing to notice, if this is your first time opening Unreal, this can take a good amount of time, around 10 minutes, because I've been using this project before. It goes very quickly. So when you first open Unreal, this is what you see. You have on the top bar, you have some options. We're going to talk about them in a second. You also have these navigation options right below. In the right, you have your outliner. It shows every object that you have on your scene. So if you see I click in here, it's selected in here. But if I click it in here, it's also selected on the viewport. Um, Another thing that you have this contextual details panel. So depending on what you're selecting, the options are going to change because this depends on the context. And down here you have your content drawer where you can find assets and add assets, and your output log where you get information, where you start running your game, where you have any problems. This is where you want to read where things, how things are going. Um, um, let's talk about this bar. So this bar has very helpful navigation tools. So I can select my objects, and you see if I select my object, I get this little gimbal that allows me to move it back and forth, left and right, up and down. Um, but also I can change to rotation by, and if you see this is selected in here, if I press here, it changes to rotation. This is a circle, a sphere, so we don't notice much. But if I do it in here, it's more obvious. And if I do this, I can change my scale. One other thing that this has, if this is familiar to you, and if it's not, don't worry, is that you have the option to change local space coordinates or world coordinates. Scale is always local, but for example, if I change to translation, I can use world space, and you can see my X, Y, and Z are aligned with the world. But if I change local space, they're aligned with my object. I'm just gonna have it right now in world space. Um, and you can add a snapping. So what a snapping does is that it allows you to move things and like get them to attach to things right away. But you could also just turn it off, and all of a sudden you have more freedom of movement. But things can, you know, end up in any position. I'm just gonna turn this on. The other thing that you have is how do you move in the environment? You can move things, but how do you move? Unreal Engine was developed initially to develop the game Unreal. And so it is thought as a shooter navigation. The easiest way to navigate is you click your left mouse button, you press W for forward, S for back, A for left, and D for right. And whatever you are looking at, you can rotate. Right now, I'm left clicking and rotating and moving in that direction, isn't it? Um, so try a little bit of that. I think you'll notice is that maybe this is moving really fast and it's a little bit uncomfortable and I'm getting lost. An easy way to control your navigation, if you go to this top bar at the very right, you have this like one. You can change this one, your camera speed. You can change your camera speed for, let's say, 0.33. And if I click W, press and click, you see it moves slower. So find a speed that works for your map size. Usually on this initial VR map, 0.33 works very well for me. And so with that, I can also do other forms of navigation. If you click with left and you move left and right, you start rotating. You could also use your drag your scroll to move back and forth. And you can, if you click your middle mouse button and you push it up and down or left and right, it's almost like you're panning on the space. So that's another form of navigation. So that's the initials or the basics of how to move in Unreal, how to grab things, and move yourself. I'll continue in the next video to talk more about how to connect your VR headset to see this scene in VR.